Hey y'all, it's Lindsay the MS lady here. I wanted to follow up with what we were talking about yesterday with the different types of MS. Now, there are a bunch of different subtypes, but there are three that I wanted to talk about today. And if you wanted to follow along with some of the major points that I was looking through, you can always go to a website that I have pulled up next to me, the nationalmssociety.org. They have a lot of different information, and it was some of what I was talking about yesterday when I said that they have really, really good tidbits with outreaches, stuff like that. So one of their sections actually just says types of MS. Now, there is a point that I want to make first that you have to understand before you can even talk about the different types. There are clinically isolated syndromes. There are understanding attacks when people say exacerbation, when they say attacks. I'm having an MS attack. It usually means any attack or any new symptom that lasts more than 48 hours that's new. If that happens, you want to talk to your neurologist. They will usually do some tests or talk to you further to see if that truly is part of an attack or part of a new syndrome. As always, I'm not a doctor, so if you think that you're having problems, you need to talk to your neurologist, especially in the beginning, to make sure that it's something that you understand. A lot of people in the beginning might feel like they're running to their doctor really quick all the time, saying, oh my gosh, I'm having a fever and I feel run down. Yeah, it's okay to be a little jumpy at first because it's new, it's something that you don't get, and that's okay. You need to ask those questions in the beginning so later on when you get to be a pro you can be like, I've felt this, I know what I'm doing, and it's okay. So now that you kind of get an understanding that an attack, an exacerbation, can last 48 hours or more, let's talk about relapsing remitting multiple sclerosis. Now, this is one of the most common ones that there is, and relapsing remitting MS, or RRMS for short, is kind of like sliding down a hill and picking yourself back up. With relapsing remitting, you can go through your life with feeling okay, and then all of a sudden you're gonna have your attack, and you'll get through it. They'll give you, different courses of treatments, and we can talk about that one later. And once you start to bounce back, you will never bounce back to 100% of what you used to be. You can pick yourself up from sliding down that hill, but you can never climb back up to the top of the hill. You'll come back to, like, say, 90%. So here it is, you started here, you fell, you came back up here, so you're going along life, you have another attack, you fall, you come back here, and it keeps going that way. So by the time you're diagnosed at 30, and then say you have enough attacks by the time you're 60, you're pretty far down the mountain as far as mobility and quality of life are concerned. Relapsing remitting gives the most quality of life, in my opinion, for the longest. Now again, not being a doctor, I'm sure that there are other types, there are other treatments with other types that could extend it, and if there are, man, I welcome comments. I hope that people can tell me things, because I welcome and want to be educated just as much as the next person. So please leave a comment, let me know, and I will study it right along with you. So the next one, the next major type, is happens a lot less. What it is primary progressive. Now this one, they think that I may have this one. Primary progressive is you're sliding down that hill a lot faster. You can actively go through moments of you just can't pick yourself back up. You really can't. You'll have those attacks more often. Instead of picking yourself back up to 90%, you may say pick yourself back up to 70%. Stuff like that. Mobility and quality of life by the time you get older happen it's a lot lower, a lot quicker, a lot quicker. But again, it happens a lot less, which is really good. My attacks, personally, have happened really quick. Now, as I talked about in the last video, I was diagnosed in November. I had that problem getting to my office in September of 2015. So from September, I had problems even in that January. I turned around and had to have a Solumedrol treatment again here this last September. So it's happened pretty quick for me. Now, one thing that I noticed was I asked immediately and said, okay, what type am I? And the response that I got, at least from my neurologist, was they have to wait and see like what your progression does for a while before they ever tell you, you know, what exact type you are. So that's why I was confused when I went on Copaxone, which is the injectable. It said that it was a treatment for relapsing remitting, but they said you're acting like you have primary progressive. So I said, why, you know, does it say it's the one, but you're treating me for the other? They said, well, you never really know. You just kind of have to roll with it. So that's the big point, is you just have to roll with it and see what's going on. So speaking of rolling with it, let's go back to the last one. Secondary progressive MS goes hand in hand with the most common one, the relapsing remitting. Secondary progressive happens a lot with later in life primary progressive. Secondary happens when somebody's body goes through primary so long, and they've basically put up with it for so long that the body goes, oh, okay, you know, we're tired, let's throw up the white flag, something's going on. With secondary progressive, and yes, I am taking a peek and kind of looking over here too, most people who are diagnosed with it eventually transition into it. It has the worsening of the neurological function, so by the time you hit that phase, you have a lot more going on for you. It can further be characterized by points in time with a lot more active MS, so you might have more lesions, you might have a lot more muscle spasms, things like that that you're dealing with over time. Now, one thing that it does want to mention is there is points in time with progression and without progression. So you can have points with MS where you can have marked notes of progression. If you go and take an MRI at one point, you can have lesions. It can show brain lesions. You can go, if you're still having progression, a year later, and you can notice, you know, 10 new lesions, and that will show progression. Say your body decides to not have any lesions after that, or any more progressions after that, and a year later you take another MRI, and there's no more lesions. That means that your MRI is, or your MS is classified as no progression. So yeah, I know I threw just a bunch of terms at you. So you have relapsing remitting, that can turn into secondary progressive when it goes on long enough. You have primary progressive, the nasty one. That's pretty, like you're tumbling down the hill and you're not picking yourself back up. Okay, and then with all of those, you have the status of active or not active. So you can either see a whole bunch of lesions and stuff pop up, or you don't see a whole bunch of lesions and stuff pop up. So if you were more curious for a whole bunch of cool graphs and stuff, please, please, please go and see the nationalmssociety.org. And just go to the heading of types of MS. They have really cool broken down graphs that show exactly like color-coded relapse times, things like that, if you are a little bit more analytical than I am, and have really kind of worded definitions of what's going on. But for me, I love colors, so you may want to look at the graph part. But please take a look at that, and until then, I am Lindsay the MS Lady. I hope that you have a great day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!